to the nostalgia. Some senators there worked intimately with my principal, Aghogho Ahmed Tinubu, and it was through that I had connection with them as governors, then a commissioner. I look at Senator Dr. Ojiuzo Kalu. I salute you, sir. I recognize Senator Muhammad Danjuma Goje, Gombe Central. I recognize Ibrahim Shekarau, Senator Kabir Gaya, Senator Muhammad Adamu Alero, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, Senator Egu, and Senator Ibrahim Gaidam of Yobe. This done, I must once again thank Almighty Allah for the grace of being in front of you to again let Nigerians, through you, know who Abu Rauf Adesoji Aregbesola is. But I will not go into this without first of all thanking and appreciating greatly the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, for this great honor and privilege of being considered as fit and qualified to serve in his cabinet as a minister, with your approval and confirmation. I will eternally be grateful for that opportunity. And I must acknowledge the role played by the leaders from my region, particularly Chief Abdulkarim Adebisi Akonde, Aghogho Ahmed Tinubu, Aremo Segun Oshoba, and Otunba Niyi Adebayo. These are our leaders who had led us with courage and good direction to get to where we are. Once again, I'm Aregbesola. I bring here 39 years of post-qualification experience in engineering, management, public administration, leadership, and resilience, with a huge dose of politics, that is political orientation. And I must say that Lagos provided the great opportunity for me outside professional preparation to test my capacity to manage human beings and resources for the maximum benefit of the largest number of people. It was in Lagos that, under the leadership of Aghogho Ahmed Tinubu and a team of dedicated young men, we dared the impossible and turned around the fortune of Lagos to that of undoubted leadership in the Nigerian political space. It was in Lagos that we developed a master plan for development, physical development, and political development that is still subsisting and showing the way for those who want development. However, no matter the work I did along with others in Lagos to bring out what leadership is, it was in Osun that I want to thank Almighty God for the courage, the capacity I had to, in 8 years, use the minimum resources available to impart on the lives of very many citizens of that state. In Osun, in the 8 years that I served, I was able to give meaning to the fundamental objectives and the directive principles of state policy, which is in section 8, section 2B of the Constitution, where it is clearly stated that the primary responsibility of all governments is to guarantee security and welfare of the people. It doesn't talk about elite. It does not talk about a minority. It said the people. It was in Osun that God provided me the capacity to do this. And to do this, we crossed and offended some few interests without any regret. Because at the end of the day, in a democracy, it is the majority that matters. So I'm happy that the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, and the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, in their Human Development Index report released in October of 2018, in Osun, the poverty index by those two bodies was 37.5% by 2010. Whereas 4 years down the line, we have turned it around, and Osun recorded the lowest poverty index in Nigeria of 17.5%. How? It's not what I want to talk about. What I talk about is the fact that my credo is that power is responsibility. Responsibility here is about how you impact directly on the people. And that we sought to do, and God permitted us to have impact on the space and people. Equally along that direction, the National Bureau of Statistics in 2010 says the unemployment rate in 2010 that we met was 17.2%. And by 2017, Osun's unemployment was 5.3%, the second lowest in Nigeria. Out of school children reduced from 12.8% in 2011 to 10.5% in 2016, according to UNICEF multi-indicator cluster survey of 2016 and 2017. According to the National Bureau of Statistics report on JAMB, because there is this usual misinformation that our educational performance is not anything to write home about. Far from it. JAMB reported and amplified by MBS that the JAMB admission for in the last 7 years, JAMB admission, that is, students admitted to tertiary institutions all over Nigeria, Osun has ranked among the top 3 in the last 7 years. If I go on repeating, according to the National Bureau of Statistics in 2018 security report, Osun recorded 0.9 crime incidence rate, being the lowest in the southwest states. I wouldn't know what our rank is in the nation. In 8 years, we struggled out to deliver inclusive development because our program on assumption of duty as a governor in the state was based on 6 integral action plan: banish poverty, banish hunger, banish unemployment, promote healthy living, promote functional education, promote communal peace. And in the course of that, we deliver 1,200 kilometers of new roads, we fed on a daily basis for 6 years 244,000 school children. Is the longest running program of that nature in Nigeria. We won $2 million grant on Save 1 Million Lives program of the Federal Ministry.
Your Excellency, you can round up so that we have another round. You can round up.
However, there is a point I want to make before I round up, sir, which is important. I must not fail to add that I and my administration faced lots of criticisms while in government, particularly on salaries, which I want to clear. This is due largely to ignorance and partly to mischief. By 2014, our nation was in distress. I won't go into the details, no. And virtually all the states of Nigeria had some challenges with salaries. But we came up in Osun with an innovative approach which ensured that there was no month that any public servant in our state was without a salary. How? We ensured between July of 2015 and July of 2018, let's be clear on this, that public servants on level 1 to 7, and they constitute about 72% of the public servants in the state, and their full pay. And not only the active public servants, equally passive public servants, that is pensioners, who are left and were between the salary scale of level 1 to 7. According to the belief that every civil servant in Osun was on 50%, that is not true. Secondly, public servants on level 10 to 12 had 75% of their salary between July of 2015 and 2018, July, while those on level 12.
All right, the live pictures there from the...
And you have live pictures from Abuja. We've got Ralph Aregbesola there talking about his track record when he was governor of Osun State. Quite controversial, that statement he's made, saying that ignorance and mischief is the reason that he got a lot of criticism about non-payment of salaries. I wonder what your thoughts are on that particular point that he has made. You're still listening to 99.3 Nigeria Info. We're still giving you the best coverage of the ministerial screening that you will find anywhere. And now the Senate has gone down its list as deeply as possible. So far today, we have had 4 people be screened so far. Today, 4 people be screened. So we have had added to the list of those who've been asked to take a bow on day 4 of this screening: Mohammed Mahmood from Kaduna State, Wemishola Saraki from Kwara State. I mentioned that when they started, that Fashola got the most thorough screening that anyone has received since this process started, in my opinion. Anyway, over 1 hour. And the reason for that was, well, they said to him, you had 3 ministries, so you have a lot to answer for. Rochas Okorocha is speaking right now. Let's hear what he's saying. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. Okay, so we're going to get back to that conversation in a bit. But let me let me ask you what your thoughts are on this particular situation. How you feel about Ralph Aregbesola saying that those who have things to say about him and his what's he called now? Those who have things to say about him and his inability to pay salaries while he was governor are speaking about that from a place of mischief and ignorance. Let's go back to Abuja where Rochas is talking.
We never agreed on many issues. We didn't agree on many issues as a colleague, but principles brought us together. I remember vividly, as their chairman himself, Oshimole. Yes? Please, you are protected. You have the protection of the chair. Himself, the governor of Kaduna, Erufai, Oshimole, that all of you know about. And most of the governors, he particularly talks nothing but about the unity of this country and how we can all move Nigeria forward. So my friend and my brother and my colleague, there's a laid down rule here that in this whole country, Nigeria, only senators and women should be allowed to take a bow and go. I've accepted that. And the matter was even when they admitted to the leader and deputy leader speaking on my behalf against my wishes. Be that may, I want to plead with my colleagues that though this man is not a senator, but he has made senators. May you please, and he's very gender sensitive. And Aisha can bear me witness. For that reason, please can we honor be given to whom honor is due.
Rocha Sokorocha making a plea for Aghogho to take a bow and go. For me, what I find distasteful is the way that our honorable senators continue to throw the term gender sensitive around. They obviously do not understand what gender sensitive means, and they continue to misuse it. And you have to wonder, do they not have advisors who would tell them that's not how that term is used? That's not what that term means. Well, we've got TA Orji currently speaking at the moment, so let's go back to Abuja and hear what he has to say as well.
I would is that you don't exceed 2 questions and that your question has to be direct. Your Excellency, former governor and now minister to be, I congratulate you for this feat, but it will look somehow if a person of your caliber and magnitude will come here and just take a bow and go. Because we want to draw from your experience and inspiration. Therefore, I'll just ask one. I reduce it to one simple question which you can answer. And that is the issue of taxation. Today, there are multiple taxation everywhere across the 3 tiers of government. Ministries, parastatals, imposing taxes on one issue. And the ease of business. I want to encourage business in Nigeria. Excellency, going into the Executive Council, what be your attitude towards this so that businessmen will be encouraged to invest and we will grow? Thank you very much.
Senator Hassan Mohammed Gusau.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Senator Hassan Mohammed from the Central. Your Excellency, issue of salaries. During your explanation, you have said you had been paying salary in front. But from the papers, I read many mails, papers, we read that you cannot be able to pay salary for the last 1 year before departure. Even though you explained, but you didn't explain in detail. Please, can you say more about salary, issue of salary in Osun State before you leave?
Senator Elisha Ishaku Abo.
Thank you, Mr. The Senate President, now sitting as chair. Thank you for the opportunity. My name remains Senator Ishaku Abo, representing the people of Adamawa North Central District. I want to join my colleague from Osun and from the entire Southwest to extol the virtues of this great Nigerian. I remember in 2012, contested for the chairmanship of my local government as a very tiny young man. I visited you in Abuja, in Ikeja, Jerry Ikeja, in your house. You never knew me. You asked me to come in and I stated my problems, and you told me to come to government house in Oshobo and meet you. When I got there, I thought I would stay there for 3 days without seeing the governor. I filled a form, you saw my name, and you ushered me into your office upstairs. And you gave me the whole of your salary for that month to go to Adamawa and contest election. Through the grace of God, I am one of the people confirming your nomination. I want to join my colleagues to please allow this detribalized, honest Nigerian to take a bow and go. And also ask Mr. President of Nigeria using this medium to give you a very big ministry. God bless you.
You can respond to the questions.
I can respond. Mr. President, harmonization of taxes. My leader, the truth, and I'm a federalist. You see, there is a limit to what we can do on taxation. Let's be clear on that. However, I understand where you're coming from and I agree with you. Where we differ slightly. I wouldn't have loved to go into this because it's going to be controversial. We have left the rich men in Nigeria without discharging their responsibilities to the citizens, particularly on taxation. So I'm going to pioneer privileged taxes for those who have huge sources of wealth from which Nigerians must tap. If I do this, there might be some ill feelings in some quarters. I won't go deeper than that. I will recommend serious taxation for wealthy people in Nigeria. If that will now translate into lift the burden on the and the local government to reduce their penchant for taxes that make poor people still give out of their inadequate resource, of course, I will have been satisfied. So I will advocate a just taxation system that will breed inequality in our polity. Salary in Osun, I want to repeat again, clearly, that the narrative on salary in Osun is either mischievous or based on ignorance. Nobody can pretend that the Nigerian economy did not suffer a huge downfall from 2014 up until when the current administration came in with some palliatives to support the states. Of course, Osun was quite hugely affected. Why? We had invested heavily in infrastructure that was totally neglected before. And I must add quickly, probably people don't know this. Personnel cost alone on my revenue, both statutory and generated, was 60%. Personnel cost alone. There is a history to that. Was taken out of Oyo. Before that, Osun provided close to 70% of the senior civil servants in Oyo. has to move. So Osun population is Osun civil service population is huge, but it's top heavy. Whereas levels 1 to 7 that constitute 72% of the public servants, they take less than 1 billion. While the top cat, the fat cats in and above, who are less than 30% of the civil servants, take over 2 billion. So I would therefore for us to do interesting balance. Short of retrenching people, I had to constitute a panel of Comrade Azan Sumonu to monitor all inflows, all revenue, income, and apportion whatever is left to salaries. And that we did innovatively. How? We knew that officers on levels 1 to 7 cannot even survive on their salary if fully paid. So we pay them their full salary, not only officers, even pensioners. Pay their salary. Anybody on levels 1 to 7 a dime of their salaries. Officers on levels 8 to 10 had 75% of their salary throughout my tenure. And that ended July 2018, please. We stopped any partial payment to anybody in July of 2018. Don't forget I left in November 2018, but we stopped this part payment in July. We are stabilized. It was only those officers on levels 12 and above that had to earn $50 salary in July 2015 and July of 2018. That's about salary. On testimony, I thank you. I've forgotten, please, I'm happy that you have reminded me. I give glory to God.
Mr. Chair.
Especially
Ralph Aghogho on our screen in Abuja. You can actually watch on Facebook. We're streaming this screening on Facebook, Nigeria Info FM. If you have access to your YouTube, you can watch directly from YouTube. YouTube is also Nigeria Info FM. I found it quite interesting that Elisha Abo, the senator who had quite the scandal very recently, asked the Nigerian ministerial nominee to take a bow because he gave him money in the past. Did you hear that? Did you hear a senator ask his colleagues to let Aghogho bow and go because he gave him money in the past? Is that a good enough reason? Should that have been brought up at all? Should that senator not have recused himself instead from the screening because he has a personal conflict of interest? Are you watching this or listening to this and you are as bemused as I am? Well, keep the thoughts warmed up. You're going to share them with me after the news at 3. The news is coming up in exactly 4 minutes. So we'll take a quick break. We'll take you back to Abuja and our news will come right up. You're listening to 99.3 Nigeria Info, our special coverage of the ministerial screening right here on your number one talk, news and sports radio station. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. Thank you so much for being here. How was he received? How did the people assess his performance? Now, because I'm asking this because Aghogho seems to have divided public opinion about his time as governor. His administration was one of the first to reintroduce feeding programs in primary school. He also initiated a program to provide tablet computers for school children. Now, there's been a lot of controversy about whether or not these programs met their intended objectives. And on the negative side, there was, of course, the long-running issue of unpaid salaries to civil servants. That issue was almost constant throughout the last few years of Aghogho's administration. He and his aides usually defended the administration by saying the fiscal crisis was caused by the federal executive under the President Jonathan, then at that time illegally withholding Osun State's federal allocation. And I remember that at that time, Jonathan's aides constantly denied this. But you now look forward to after the time that Jonathan was president, can it be said that continued to be the case? All that can be said for sure is that a lot of employees of a lot of ministries, while Ralph Aghogho was governor, did not receive their salaries in time for so many months. And that particular question came up again and again and again during his own screening. And he attributed that to ignorance and mischief. That's what Ralph Aghogho said. Ignorance and mischief is the reason that he continues to get that criticism. And then when he was asked about multiple taxation, he said that there's a limit to what we can do on taxation. I wonder what he meant by that. He went on to say that if he had a chance, he will ensure that Nigeria's richest pay more tax, much more tax than they are currently paying. But on salaries, Aghogho said recession, infrastructural investment, personnel cost were the reasons that he couldn't pay salaries. And in fact, he said that was a problem that didn't last for as long as people who were criticizing him claim that it lasted. So here's a question for you. Are you from Osun State? Did you pay attention to Ralph Aghogho's interview? What did you think about it? What did you think of it? I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, by the way, and did you catch the Senator Elisha Abo, who made that very interesting submission to the Senate? Did you catch that? Senator Abo basically said of Ralph Aghogho, he gave me his entire salary to use for my chairmanship campaign in 2012. I appeal to Mr. President to give him a big ministry. Now, Senator Elisha Abo is a senator representing Adamawa North. You know him as the person who's been accused of going into a store and slapping a woman who was carrying a baby. And he made that comment, and it made me question whether a senator should be saying that on the floor of the Senate. A Nigerian senator just asked his colleagues to let Aghogho bow and go because he gave him money in the past. Is that a good enough reason? Should that have even been brought up at all? Should that senator instead not have recused himself from the screening because you have a conflict of interest? A personal conflict of interest? Or is it just me? 01277 0993 01277 1993 01277 2993 and 01277 993. Our connection to Abuja is experiencing some technical difficulties, so while we're working on that, give us a call and let's talk until we sort that out, and then we'll go back to Abuja and listen to Godi Agba. We've got Akin in Ogun State. Hello Akin, thank you for calling us.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to you.
Ma'am, I'm just too surprised this afternoon listening to Ralph Aghogho with all the statistics he read out during this thing. And really, this thing are there to check. If this is truth, on poverty, out of school children, low crime rate in Southwest, unemployment, low unemployment, this thing, and 1,200 kilometers of road, new roads, not old ones. I think the press has not been fair to this man. and especially enlighten us on the salary issue.
Okay.
And the reason why he did it. In short, definitely then, maybe the press in this country nowadays decide to leave the good things and start hammering on the bad things. Because one of our colleagues in the studio there normally say that he ran Osun down. I'm referring to Sankore. He ran Osun down. With these statistics now, how is that possible, madam?
Yeah, but you know that these are statistics that have been shared by the person who was in charge at the time. Now, is a chicken going to vote for Christmas? Is a former governor going to come out and say, yes, I did this and I did that?
Hello, ma'am. These are there for us to check. There's way we can...
exactly. And you have had people who have lived in Osun complain about their salaries being owed. You've had civil servants in Osun complain about their salaries being owed.
Well, as for that, I need more information on that.
All right, let's see if somebody's going to call us with more information. Yes, what he has said, a lot to think about, Akin. Thank you for calling. Austin is in Lekki. Hello, Austin. Thanks for calling us.
Good afternoon, Sandra.
Good afternoon to you.
How was your weekend?
It was good. How was yours?
Fine. Actually, I want to appreciate your effort so far with that of your crew. Since last week, I've been listening on about the ongoing ministerial screening. What I've seen or what I've heard so far is just a payback time. Mr. President told us that we should give him time to select the people he knows. And the people he brought on board now are not from the moon. And I begin to wonder what is going on. Aghogho Shola has no good record to become a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Quote me right. The people of our show have suffered a lot for complete 8 good years, no salary. And Mr. Bo, that has some questionable case on him, shouldn't have appeared on that Senate or the Red Chamber to make any contribution, because he still have something, some questionable he has at now. So what am I saying in the place? Aghogho Shola, anybody that confirms, in fact, all the whole ministerial list, Mr. President brought out. They are not qualified.
Not even a single person.
Not apart from the one from Oyo State last week.
Sunday Dare.
He's an intellectual, dynamic, and erudite fellow that has something upstairs to offer. But the rest of them are just there for.
But how do we even know that none of them have anything to offer, since a lot of them were asked to take a bow and go, Austin?
Take, for example, my brother, Dr. Chris Ngige. Dr. Chris Ngige is a show of shame. Mr. Dr. Obonayono is a show of shame. What are we talking about? I don't want to care where the person is coming from, but it's somebody that will put Nigeria on
Nigeria's
right
affairs
path.
in order. Austin, let me talk to Comrade Obanago. That's the last call I'm going to take. He's calling us from Ikeja. Hello, Comrade. Thanks for calling.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Please tell me you're from Osun State.
I'm not from Osun State. I'm from Kogi State.
I see. Okay.
But I've been to Osun State several times.
Okay.
Yes, Aghogho Shola was right on the road construction.
Okay.
No doubt about that.
Okay.
And I urge you now to go to Osun State and verify yourself. I've been there several times, but I have a lot of friends there.
Okay.
So there are a lot of roads there.
Okay.
And that is to tell you that the media have been taking a back seat in what is it called now? Something journalism now. So we're not verifying the real things that are going on in the society. If Aghogho Shola to bring down this way, what are the media doing about Kogi State for the past 4 years that the man has not been paying salary and the man is still contesting? What is the media? We are not hearing anything in the media. So Aghogho Shola has done his best, to my own understanding, and we should allow him.
Okay.
And if we said the ministers, the nominees, and between you and I, for God's sake, and you are telling me that Fabio, who was a governor, that even go to FTC, SC, and then I know everybody attested to his developmental stride in in Akwa Ibom. And today we are saying there is no capacity in him. Fashola in Lagos State, and we can see the capacity in him. First of Kiamo, you can see first of Kiamo. And somebody is coming up to tell us that there is nobody that has capacity among those ministers, my sister. That this country, I don't know where we are going to.
All right, comrade, thank you for calling and sharing your thoughts. Let's take you back to Abuja. Godi Agba is currently being screened. A senator is standing and asking him some questions. Let's find out what those questions are.
That it has also identified an outstanding liability of about 498 million US dollars on delivery of refined petroleum products and another US dollars through NNPC's use of lower or revised pricing at the point of payment instead of the higher price at the point of purchase. Even though NNPC announced that in 2017, 3 crude oil firms agreed to pay back 180 million for undelivery petroleum products. You and I and every member of this chamber know that this amount is infinitesimally meager compared to the revenue lost by this country in the oil and gas industry. So going by your experience, assuming you are being confirmed by this Senate, and the Baba said, man the petroleum ministry, what measures will you put in place to ensure that to eliminate or eradicate totally this under-delivery, reverse pricing at the point of payment, and discrepancy in the value of crude oil supplies vis-a-vis the refined products delivered? Secondly, how will you tackle the sharp practices in the industry, especially in the areas of transparency and accountability, in manning the affairs of oil business activities from survey to production, to mining, to marketing, and meeting the demands of Nigerians and revenue generation to the country without any leakage? Thank you very much, and I wish you the best of luck.
Fielding questions from Senators Godi Agba from Cross River. All right, we'll take a quick break. Don't forget, we've got Forex infomercial coming up at 3:45, and coverage of this screening will continue immediately after that conversation with the team from Raleigh Academy. That conversation is coming up at 3:45. That's in roughly 15 minutes. So look forward to that. But right now, we'll take a break. Ojuta Carlo is currently asking questions of Godi Agba. So after the break, we'll come back and hear what those questions are.
99.3 Nigeria Info.
Nearly 2 months after President Muhammadu Buhari's inauguration, 43 names have been handed to the President of the Senate for the screening to commence. Join 99.3 Nigeria Info from Wednesday, 24th of July at 10 a.m. for live coverage, expert analysis, and interviews. Nigeria Info. Keep listening.
Yes, indeed. Keep listening to 99.3 Nigeria Info. I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and this is still the best coverage of the ministerial screening that you will find anywhere. And guess what? We're streaming on Facebook as well, so you can actually watch the Red Chamber as they are currently asking Godi Jediagba from Cross River State questions about why he should be confirmed as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Let me take you back to Abuja.
Geneva or in America or in London says, hey, Nigeria is owing this man 10 million or 200 million worth of dollars of money. Seize anything. The first thing they'll go for is those cargoes that are on the high sea, which will generate him his money. So it was safer for us at that time, and it is safer, to sell on CIF because nobody can seize your vessel. Once we load your vessel and we take off the pump head, it becomes your property. What happens to it is no longer the liability of NNPC or the Nigerian government. It's not the property of the Nigerian government any longer. Whereas CIF holds us liable until the port of discharge. So if you load in Bonny and you are going to Amsterdam or Rotterdam or Antwerp, until you get to Antwerp and you discharge into the tank and the man accepts that the calibration is okay, then liability stops being ours. So that's the disadvantage of both sides. Then, actually for grading, for refining our products, sale of products, you see, our refineries are in the least 50 years old. And any property or any vehicle or vessel or machine that has 50 years lifespan, has lasted of 50 years, requires to be refurbished regularly. There are standards for required called turnaround maintenances. We have not done turnaround maintenances for a long time. The only one we did, it's like giving your Mercedes-Benz car to a motorcycle mechanic to service. You know what you get. That's what we did only once. So the refineries require that we do turnaround and maintenance every 2 years. If you don't do that, you're not going to have maximum product from your refineries. So our refineries are old and indeed obsolete. However, refineries in India and Brazil are 70 years old. They last 70 years because they are periodically maintained. We have refused to maintain ours, so we are in that predicament. However, also, our refineries are configured to refine only one stream of crude. Nigeria has 32 streams. Port Harcourt refinery, for instance, is programmed to refine only Bonny light crude. Kaduna refines only heavy crudes and escravos. Warri refines only escravos. So for Kaduna, for instance, we take escravos, and when escravos is not producing, we import heavy crude from Venezuela. We used to import from Venezuela. We take a cargo of light crude, which is sweet crude light, take it to the port of Curaçao. Curaçao is a big deep sea port in that area. And then they bring their own one cargo of heavy crude. We exchange by calibration, and then we bring it to Warri, then pump from Warri to Kaduna for refining. And that one line has not worked for 10 years as I stand, I check to you. For 10 years, it has not happened because the pipelines are not available, and the crude exchange program could not work. So if we need to to correct that program, we need to reconfigure our refineries to produce, for one refinery to produce 3 grades of crude. We'll have more products. We will now shut up the reason for importing crude. If, for instance, we configure Warri refinery to take in Ima, escravos, and Kwaibo, we have 32 crudes anyway produced by Nigeria. So if Warri processes 3 crude streams, Port Harcourt produces 3 crude streams, and Kaduna produces 3 crude streams, we'll have more products locally. We won't need to import products, and therefore we'll bridge the gap between importing and at a shorter price and paying extra for those services, which we call subsidy. However, if we must get to that stage, we should first service refineries and reconfigure them. Reconfiguration is just an extension of the refinery to make it capable to accommodate 3 crude streams rather than 1 stream or 4 crude streams as you want it, which will solve our problems of importing products and getting into the problems of we have today. If we have enough local products, we can wet the country enough sufficiently to be able to meet our market demands. Then I was asked a question about, somebody called it local content, the distinguished senator called it local content. I prefer to call it Nigerian content. Because it is Nigerian, we're not local, we're Nigerians, and it's for Nigerians. So the essence is to encourage more of our Nigerian companies and Nigerian citizens to participate in the oil industry, not just heavy participation. Even welders, you'll be surprised to hear that welders are brought from Houston, from Paris, to come and weld underground welding. A welder earns $10,000 per month. $10,000 per month per welder who is brought from Houston to weld pipe, whereas our boys are there languishing. If you teach them, train them to weld, they will do that welding very well, and the capital flight, which goes to France or to Germany or to Houston, will remain in Nigeria. $10,000 for just welding or for a diver. That's that's Nigerian content. And more Nigerian companies are being encouraged to participate in the downstream and upstream industry, so that we'll be able to have enough employment for our staff and our own hands-on in it. Most of the laws we are operating today are obsolete. They were designed by the IOCs, international oil companies, to service their interests. So we must revisit those laws to make them compatible with the Nigerian situation, so as to be able to enhance output and optimize revenue generation from these sections. For pipelines, our pipelines are as old as our refineries, and pipelines are made of metal. Crude oil is corrosive, so it corrodes. Having used one same pipeline for 50 years or 45 years, it will certainly corrode. So when it's corroded, it's easy to penetrate. If you just hit it with a stone, you can blow a hole and you can draw up pipe, and then it spills. It also, when there's crude oil is pumped under high pressure, so with that pressure can burst a pipe, and environmental degradation and all of that will happen. Apart from crude theft itself, but degradation due to aged pipelines. The solution to that, for me, is that today, in advanced oil economies, there are new systems of pipelining. We don't have to use those metal pipes to lay. They're highly calibrated fiber pipes, which you lay. It takes 6 hours to bore a hole on those pipelines. So by the time you spend 6 hours trying to bore just a pinhole, you will have suffered enough. You can't steal. Secondly, it won't burst to degrade our environment. These pipelines are laid and they are connected to a control room, which is somewhere else. As soon as there's a tamper on that pipeline, it triggers an alarm at the control room, and then a drone will generate from that point and go to that place. It may not come with arms and fire. I'm not saying kill people. It comes with water, hot water. It goes to that area. If a man is trying to steal there, they pump hot water. The drone will drop hot water on your body. And for God's sake, nobody wants to be burnt. 1. 2, it will not burst our pipelines any longer because it's not corrosive. It is high fiber. So if we relay our pipelines and reconfigure them with control rooms, we can easily check what's happening from wellhead production to meter end and tank heads. So if we have that done, we don't have present problems with stealing fuel or broken pipes or environmental pollutions. It will abate. Finally, about my career and my retirement. Yes, I retired voluntarily, as it were, from the NNPC 5 years before my year of retirement. First of all, I was Group General Manager, Crude Oil Marketing. For some reasons, posting in the service is normal. You can be posted at any point in time. I was redeployed from Crude Oil Marketing Division to a newly created redundant position called Business Management. Good enough, that was good. Well, management has reasons to deploy anybody at any time. It was not as a result of fraud, discipline or indiscipline as the case may be. Maybe I was required to do some things I would not have done. I don't know. But I was deployed and I went in there. Having stayed there and being redundant, I was still very young and I'm still young and active. That can be satisfied to. So, in every way, yes, sir, up till now. Distinguished Senator. So, I was that way, and a law of politics came to me. I wanted to join your trade, so I ventured into politics. I retired and joined the gubernatorial race, and I failed woefully, which is natural. You fail the first time, you fail the second time, you may succeed the third time, but I failed woefully, and I went back to my shelf and continued doing my farming. Started doing farming and stayed on the back line and did what is called sit down look. And by the grace of God, I find myself here to serve my country in whatever capacity I'm given to serve.
So Godi Agba answers questions ranging from the crude industry to his career in NNPC and a host of other things. What did you think of that? You know, you've been saying, oh, there are no technocrats. There are no technocrats. Does he qualify as a technocrat? You're listening to Nigeria Info's special coverage of the ministerial screening. This is day 4, and you just listened to Godi Agba from Cross River, representing Cross River State. Let's talk to the guys from Raleigh Academy. I mentioned that they'll be here from 3:45. It's already 3:45. So we'll have that conversation with them. We'll come back and join Abuja again for more of Nigeria Info's ministerial coverage. I'm Sandra Ezekosile.
This is a paid announcement.
The governor disclosed this in a statement signed by the Director General on Press Affairs, Yusuf Idris Nguzo. Machawale listed the areas the MOU will cover to include solid minerals, agriculture, textile development, healthcare, airport construction, and power generation. That's our business news at this hour. And we'll bring you more news at 5 p.m. Headlines will be at that hour. Abuja is where Nigeria Info has been plugged into for most of the day. We are monitoring for you the ministerial nominees screening by the National Assembly. I am Sandra Ezekwesili, and Godi Jediagba is still being screened, still being questioned by Nigerian senators. We're going to take you over to Abuja in a bit because I would like to hear what exactly is going on with the Abuja studios. Don't forget that there's Nigeria Info in Abuja, there's Nigeria Info in Port Harcourt, and there's Arewa Radio in Kano. So if you're in any of these parts of Nigeria, you know where to tune into and pay attention to the news. All right. So while our technical team gets ready for the studios in Abuja, let me take a look at some of these messages that we have from some of you via WhatsApp. You've been commenting on the different points raised by different senators, different nominees, and you can keep sending me your messages, by the way. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. 080-959-75805.
There are a lot of us who believe that most of the oil companies that are doing business in that neighborhood, they ought to have their offices, their headquarters in that same neighborhood so that they could provide employment opportunities for these people. Even in this Senate, and I believe in the House of Reps, many a time, several motions have been moved along those lines. But till date, nothing has happened. More specifically, there's an issue that is raging right now. Mr. Nominee, please listen to me. There's an issue that is raging right now in Delta. It has to do with Nigerian gas. They are also threatening to move their headquarters from Warri Efru in Delta State elsewhere. I am seeking your commitment. I didn't say where it's going. Elsewhere. I am seeking your commitment today as a nominee that in the event you become the Minister of State Petroleum, as somebody else has canvassed, will you commit to me? I must say commit to us. Will you commit to me as a representative of the people of Delta Central that you will not superintend over the movement of Nigerian gas from Efru elsewhere? And would you also commit to see to it that those companies that are doing businesses there in Delta, rather than take their headquarters elsewhere, that they also ought to come back to the Niger Delta area to provide jobs for our teeming unemployed youth? Thank you very much. I congratulate you for this nomination. Thank you, Mr. President.
DSP, my brother, you know, if and when he's confirmed and assume he's given the portfolio of the Minister of Petroleum Resources, he's just one person. That can be a policy of government, or this Senate could pass resolutions and follow the implementation through. But I fear that even if, because he wants to be confirmed, commits to to those things you ask him to commit, it takes more than him to keep those. So I want you to be a little bit lenient with him, that he will work to ensure that, so you should know what to say about this. Senator Rosoko.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Rose Oko, Cross River North, and the constituency of the nominee. Mr. President, sitting as the chair, distinguished colleagues, you would all agree with me that Mr. Godi Jedi Agba is a technocrat par excellence that brings a lot to the table in a very strategic and critical area of our economy. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I would like to personally thank Mr. President of this country for nominating somebody like himself from Cross River State, notwithstanding the very many and eminently qualified people from that state. He stands out, especially in his area of specialization. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, from the various responses that he has given, I do not think that I need to speak so much more about Mr. Godi Jedi Agba. And because of the responses that he has given, very eloquently given, to the various issues that
expertise,
I would like to urge this hallowed chamber, our very distinguished colleagues, that for a nominee that brings so much to the table, for a nominee that will be a major part of the solution to the problems that we have in that sector, that he should take a bow and go.
Chikina, take a bow.
Can we then assume that you have spoken for your other colleagues from Cross River? Senator Sandra Ono is raising his hand. All right. Okay, Geshambasi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Gershom Bassi. I am the very proud senator representing Cross River South in this 9th Assembly. Today I'm very proud because Cross River State has brought to this chamber a nominee that has clearly demonstrated huge capacity in his area of expertise.
Oh, yes.
Several questions have been thrown at him, and he has been extremely articulate in the way in which he has proffered solutions and answers to all these questions. He is a man of capacity.
Tremendous.
And we are proud. So let me second the suggestion made by my distinguished colleague, Rose Oko, that this gentleman, this man of huge capacity and talent, this man who has demonstrated not only knowledge, but technical know-how in his area of expertise, should take a bow in this chamber and leave. I so submit.
Senator Sandra Ono, you can second the seconding.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, is a very good man. Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues. Behold Prince Godi Jedi Agba. He is a prince of the ancient Utuwan kingdom of Northern Cross River region. His father, Uti Jedi Agba, is 57 years and counting on the throne as paramount ruler, one of the oldest serving paramount rulers in Nigeria. They were inculcated with the right values and mores growing up. This certainly has seen him through the civil service, where he has showcased himself as a man of integrity and probity, rising, as he has told us, to the enviable height of General Manager Crude in NNPC. He retired meritoriously. Mr. Chairman, when his matter was brought before us in the Cross River Senate caucus, we didn't find it difficult accepting that this was beautiful. Even when we are all PDP senators and it's an APC stakeholder who attempted with the likes of Senator John Owaneno and Victor Ndomegba to do the impossible. Mr. President, sir, the rules of the Senate, our own Senator Rozoko, described him as an okay guy. So we present to you an okay guy, a gentleman of cosmopolitan broad-mindedness. God has the capacity of relating to all Nigerians without bias, regardless of ethnicity, geography, or religion. He is ministerial. He will do well in that office. As you can see, he has the right head sitting on the proper neck. And because the sauce that is good for the gander is good for the goose, is also good for the gander, I know that you would allow him do the needful. Take a bow and go. Thank you.
Well, before he responds to some of the questions, excuse me, I'm tempted honestly to propose that we crown Senator Sandy Ono as the orator of the Senate. So some issues were raised. You can respond, including the commitments in court from the DS. So you can respond as quickly.
President, am I protected? I'm protected. So I hide under your protection. I will not promise what I cannot deliver. However, I would like to make a comment. We are in an economy which is struggling to survive, striving. We have spent so much money in the NGC project. What sense would it make to move it from that place to any place else? What happens to the infrastructure? What happens to the money is wasted? I don't think anybody is contemplating that in its correct sense. I do not think so. Mr. Distinguished Senator, I think you should check your facts right again. Nobody can contemplate that in its correct senses. We have put in so much money. Besides, sir, I give an example of the pipeline in Europe, for instance. The pipeline that Russia takes gas from Russia through to Europe, it passes through Syria. When the problem was between Syria and you know who, what did the Damascus do? He rushed to Putin and said, guy, I'm under threat, they're going to kill me now, protect me. And Putin just locked the pipe.
Speak to the mic.
And then there was no flow of gas to Europe, and men were dropping dead, the old men were dying, anyhow it was winter. We have laid the pipeline, we are working on the West African gas pipeline from Warri up to the whole west coast of Africa, which may link up to Morocco and to Europe, which will bring us more revenue. Why do we block it now? Simple economics teaches us that you should, certain industries should be close to the source of raw material. So why do we do that? I don't contemplate that happening. I would not pretend over that if I had an opportunity to, but I'm hiding under the president, Senate President. Thank you.
Well, distinguished colleagues, for those that had wanted to ask their questions, and if I indicated, and there are about 10 of our colleagues, unfortunately, we have run out of time, and also the mood is that the nominee has answered most of the questions put to him, and therefore it should take a bow and go. Is it the view of this Senate that he takes a bow and go? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You can take a bow.
Godi Jediagba from Cross River State has been asked to take a bow and go. You heard that that conversation. You listen to the man. He is from Cross River, first degree in international studies, a bureaucrat, spent a lot of his life working in the Nigerian civil service. He spent some time heading the Department of Market Research, Crude Oil Marketing at the NNPC, ran for office, did not succeed, became a farmer. His own words. What did you think of the process that screened Godi Jedi Agba? You're listening to Nigeria Info's special live coverage of the ministerial screening, and so many people commenting on Facebook. Kings Onwuna, for instance, says that Chief Godi Jedi Agba is a technocrat in the oil and gas industry that can make a difference if given the opportunity and the free hand. Okay. And then we have more comments. Ezano Chie Sonny Daniel says the guy is good. He has vast knowledge of the oil and gas industry. He should be made the petroleum minister. Also on Facebook, by the way, I need to mention that we are showing you footage of the Red Chamber on our Facebook. So if you want to watch what's happening live from Abuja, Nigeria Info FM on Facebook, Nigeria Info FM on Twitter. Oladejo Adekunle says Aregbesola as at today is the best governor ever produced by Osun State. I am from Osun State. I also finished my service in Osun State. Aregbesola didn't owe any workers from level 7 to level 14 a dime throughout his tenure, and those senior staff owed was based on agreement reached by the workers' union. Oh, where's that comment? Where did that comment go? It's gone off. Okay. Well, we've got opposing views to that particular comment on our WhatsApp. Don't forget that I said WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. And this person says, good afternoon. I'm in tears. Elijah Abo just broke my heart. Is this leadership? All right, Chike. Thank you for your message. Oluwatobi from Aghogho says, truly, he constructed some roads, speaking of Aregbesola, but it is a camouflage. This person says he only constructed roads that can be seen by outsiders within the metropolis and awarded to his personal company most of the roads that lead to Osun. But most of the roads that lead to Osun are very bad, claiming that they are federal government roads. The food he claimed to be giving school children are all camouflage. He left the people of Osun impoverished than he met them. You were here, Aghogho, when Aregbesola was a commissioner in Lagos. What did you think of him? What was he like as commissioner for works and infrastructure?
He was one of the more colorful commissioners we had in Lagos State. Maybe if you put in Kairi Okwefa also too, you probably would have had. But Bola Ahmed Tinubu did have a number of colorful commissioners during his time as governor in Lagos State, and I did listen to a lot of what he said, justifying why he did owe senior civil servants in Osun State above level 7 upwards, and then 1 to 7. So I was in Osun State for a while also too. I think pretty embarrassing to imagine that had to happen, knowing the circumstances which he became governor. Had to fight out with Olagusonye Oyinlola then, which I did cover the 2007 elections and all the mayhem that happened afterwards, and then had to get his verdict through a tribunal. Yeah, so as Commissioner for Works in Lagos, a lot of work had to be done. He was commissioner at a time when a lot of infrastructural development had to happen around the Mushin area, Oshodi to some extent, but then they were largely criticized by the administration, I remember. For what happened in the way development was focused. They did say elitist in the roads to the island rather than on the mainland. But he was very, very he was very, very popular, especially with the media and all that happened while he was Commissioner for Works.
Well, the Senate President is currently speaking. We're getting ready to screen yet another nominee. It kind of looks like we're going to be done with this by the end of the day. Let's take you back to Abuja.
Majority, minority side. Let me also acknowledge my own senators from Jigawa State, Senator Daladi Sankara, Senator Ibrahim Hassan Hadija, and Senator Sabono Kudu. In addition, I'd also like to acknowledge some of my good friends in the Senate, particularly Senator Abu Kari, my childhood friend, Senator Kabir Rugai, my senior uncle, brother, and a host of others. Let me also seize this opportunity, Mr. President, to thank all those that have joined me here in this hallowed chamber, starting with my wife, Hawa, and my members of my family, my colleagues, my cousins, members of the House of Representatives from Jigawa State, led by the chairman of APC in Jigawa, Chairman DG Voice of Nigeria, Osito Okechukwu, and a host of others. Forgive me for not mentioning. Mr. President, sir, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. 3.5 years ago, I was here on this kind of screening, and I would like to express my profound appreciation to His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari for giving me yet another opportunity to be of service to my country. I believe, given this opportunity, I will put in my best again, as I think I have done in the last 3.5 years, to the service of my fatherland. You have your CV before me. I don't want to go too much into it. Suffice to say that I was born in Kaduna, although I'm a citizen of Jigawa State. Born to a family of public servants, my father being a civil servant in the then Northern Regional Government of Nigeria. Before the creation of states, where we moved to Kano, where I started my primary school and ended up in Kaduna, first at Magweng Local Education Authority Primary School in Kano, and later at Capital School, Kaduna. Thereafter, I went to Federal Government College, Kano, a place I'm very proud to mention because the motto of that school, as you all know, is a unity school, was Pro Unitat. And I am a citizen of Nigeria by virtue of the fact that I grew up with people from all parts of Nigeria. And I can say without fear of contradiction today that there is no state of the Federation that I do not have friends and people that I call brothers and sisters. In fact, I'm the president of the Alumni Association of that school, and by virtue of that fact, also a very active member of Unity Schools All Students Association. My working life, I started in public service, first with Federal Capital Development Authority in 1985, and then I moved back to Kano, State Civil Service, under working with Water Resources and Engineering Construction Agency. In 1990, I received my professional practice license from Koren, which encouraged me in 1992 to move out of public service to start a practice along with my friends, where we set up a consulting firm that has been in existence to date. We did quite a number of projects, including supporting the well-known Petroleum Special Trust Fund program between 1995 and 1999, where I was a principal consultant responsible for planning and design and coordination of many infrastructure projects, especially in the water sector. Professionally, I would say I'm fulfilled, having been made a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers at the age of 36 in 1999, and barely a month ago, I was privileged to be invited by my peers to be conferred with the highest professional honor to engineers in this country, where I was inducted into the Academy of Engineering as a fellow. Politically, I've been very active since 2002 in the Buhari organization. I've headed directorates of research, strategy, logistics, and so on over the 4 campaigns that we had between 2003 and 2011. In 2010, I was elected National Vice Chairman of the Congress for Progressive Change, CPC, representing the Northwest. I've also served as Special Assistant to the President in the 2007 campaigns, among other activities. But what is of import, I think, here is the fact that I was the immediate past Minister of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, where I conducted the affairs of that ministry in the last 3.5 years. So I'll just crave your indulgence, Mr. President, to speak a little about some of the work that we did there, whereby we started with a roadmap. We developed a roadmap for the sector, I think probably for the first time, a 15-year roadmap that will lead to greater improvement of the water resources sector. We met a sector that was in serious crisis. We started with our roadmap. The roadmap included issues that had to do with policy. So we started with policy issues. We started with the issue of reviving the water resources policy, the national irrigation and drainage policy, as well as the national water resources bill, which was successfully passed by the House of Representatives, but has been pending before this important chamber, and which I hope that the 9th Senate will give adequate consideration to ensure that it is passed, because it is very, very critical to the rejuvenation and revitalization of the water resources sector in this country. The roadmap also comprised a program for water supply, sanitation, and hygiene that would see to Nigeria achieving the Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. Of course, the Ministry of Water Resources is responsible for SDGs 6.1 and 6.2, water and sanitation. And Nigeria didn't meet the Millennium Development Goals, so we had to bring up a new strategy to ensure that we achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Accordingly, we initiated a new program which we call Partnership for Expanded Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, which has started working. While the program is ongoing, we are working first with 2 states, but we have 22 states that have subscribed to it. The idea is to have a strong collaboration between the federal government and the state government to ensure that the SDG targets 6.1 and 6.2 are achieved. Along the way, we also developed a new roadmap for making Nigeria open defecation free by 2025. We developed a new WASH action plan in collaboration with development partners, which led to President Muhammadu Buhari declaring a state of emergency on the water supply and sanitation sector in November last year. And before I left office, we were already working on a new launch of a new drive following the Indian example to make sure Nigeria is open defecation free by 2025. I would like to say that before I came on board, several communities were open defecation free, but for the first time in 2017, we were able to get 1 local government open defecation free. And before I left office, we have had 10 local governments in this country that are open defecation free. And now with the state of emergency being declared, we are seeing states coming up and competing among themselves to ensure that Nigeria is ODF by the year 2025, which is a healthy development. On transnational development, transboundary waters, Mr. President, we have continued to champion the need to revitalize the Lake Chad. Mr. President has been vocal and has helped tremendously in bringing the issue of Lake Chad on the roadmap. You probably recall, some of you, that we had a very successful conference in February 2018 on revitalization of the Lake Chad, and now we're getting a lot of interest the world over on the way forward. We've also been very active in our activities in the Niger Basin Authority and the Lake Chad Basin Commission. And since I was in office, Mr. President has been the chairman of the Summit of Heads of State, and I've been the chairman of the Council of Ministers, and I've been steering the affairs of those 2 organizations. Still on transboundary waters, we've also been able to revitalize the Hadejia Kamadugu Yobe Trust Fund, and we are now working assiduously to ensure that we were able to read or to open the basin to allow for free flow of water. As we know, there is a huge environmental challenge in that area. We've been able to revitalize our river basin development authorities to support irrigation and to support this administration's new policy on agriculture. Now, river basin development authorities are very proactive and they are being properly supervised by the ministry. In this context, we've been able to develop what we call the Songhai model. We have had a graduate and youth empowerment program that is supporting 50 youths at a time, and it's now merged with the Songhai program on sustainable agricultural practice. And we hope on that program, as we move on, and with the support from given by necessary relevant appropriations, that all the 109 senatorial districts in this country will have at least one Songhai model farm in the near future. We have deliberately avoided doing new projects, Mr. President, because we inherited 116 ongoing and abandoned projects. Some of them started since 1992 and never completed. Some for 17 years, not done. So what we did, we decided to prioritize those projects. We abandoned those that we thought were not viable, and we took the most serious projects and have been pursuing them. I'm happy to say that in the 3.5 years, we're able to complete about 17 of these projects. We commissioned 12, and between this year, 2019, and 2020, we hope to commission another 19, to complete another 19. We deliberately did that because investment has been put in those projects, and I recall at my last Senate confirmation here, I did make the point that if I was a minister, I would place priority on the projects that we inherited. Government is a continuum, and we must continue to do that. Otherwise, we'll have a fragmentation of so many projects and nothing is completed, and will not give value for money. So these are some of the things that we have done in the ministry during my 3.5 years stewardship. And I would like to say that also we have revitalized, we have encouraged, we have now developed a very good relationship with development partners, UNICEF, the World Bank, African Development Bank, and so on. And we hope that this will continue into the future. I thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So you listen to the former Minister of Water Resources speak right there, Suleiman Adamu. He's a nominee from Jigawa State. And now questions are headed his way. We've got Senator Ike Kweramadu standing at the moment. We'll take you back to Abuja. If you just joined us, this is 99.3 Nigeria Info. We're covering for you live the screening of President Buhari's ministerial nominees. The best coverage you can find anywhere. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. Facebook, YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. You can actually watch what's happening at the Red Chamber live on your Facebook and YouTube screen. Again, it's Nigeria Info FM. And while it's going on, if you have thoughts to share on the comments or share in the comments section of our Facebook and YouTube. Send us WhatsApp messages as well. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
The national resources. So they need to be completed. Do you have any plan to complete these dams? Secondly, our people are also concerned about potable water. Yes, this dam deliver this water in some places, but they are not evenly distributed. Now, will you be minded to look at a process that can provide water evenly across this country? And I'll give you an example. In my senatorial district, we tried a number of times to provide borehole through appropriation, and we discovered how limited that approach could be. So what we did was to procure a drilling machine, and over time, in the last 12 months, we provided about over 20 boreholes for our people. Can you support a process where your ministry will provide drilling machines to each state of this federation through your own offices in those various states to help intervene in those communities where you cannot have this dam, so that our people can have the benefit of a potable water? And finally, you are aware that Southeast is the only geopolitical zone with one river basin authority. Can you, in the words of the Deputy Senate President, commit yourself to giving the Southeast an additional river basin?
DSP, you know my response to him. Distinguished Senator Kashim Shettima. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. When the nominee was appointed the Minister of Water Resources in 2015, it was tantamount to putting a square peg in a square hole, because water is his area of core competence. I want us to revisit the issue of the lake chart that is responsible for the sustenance of 30 million livelihoods in that region, and there is an incestuous relationship between economy and ecology. And with the shrinking of the lake chart from 25,000 square kilometers to less than 2,500 square kilometers, it had a direct correlation with the instability and the violence in the region. Can you give us a specific roadmap on how the lake chart is going to be recharged from River Obangi in the Congo Republic? Thank you so much. Senator Benjamin Uwajimogu.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Ben Uwajimogu. I represent the good people and some bad people of Imo North in Imo State. I want to say that I want to commend the nominee, the former Water Resources Minister. I think he has done well. He did well as a Minister of Water Resources. I visited some of the projects that he had under his ministry. As a matter of fact, there's one of his projects ongoing in my Ministerial district. I just want to get a commitment that if he returns to the ministry, that he will continue that project, because my community gave him a title of Inyo Awan of Aghogho, and I want to use that opportunity to thank him today and let him know that my community is rooting for him, and to urge our colleagues to please confirm him and allow him to bow and go. Thank you very much, sir.
Senator Bima Mohamed Enagi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, my colleagues. My name is Bima Mohamed Enagi. I'm from Niger State, Niger South. Mr. Nominee, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, I would like to congratulate you. From your CV, I can see that you have been in the construction industry for the past 34 years. You had worked in consultancy, you had also worked in contracting, and also in the public service. So you have seen it all. I have two questions. The first question is in respect of the Public Procurement Act. You recollect that prior to 2007, most of our procurement process in the construction industry was guided by the JCT, the ICE, the FIDIC, and guidelines provided by Tenders Board of various parastatals. However, in 2007, the Act was promulgated and signed by Mr. President then, and it became operational since that time, with the core objectives of 1, competition, 2, transparency, and 3, accountability. My question now, to what extent do you think these objectives have been achieved? And what areas of the Act do you think will require amendment for enhanced benefits to the public? The second question is about the advance payments. I'm sure for anybody who has been in the construction industry for some time now knows the effects of advance payments. the core objectives of giving advance payment are not being realized in Nigeria. We have abandoned projects everywhere. We have projects that are scheduled for about 2 years, not getting completed until after about 10 years. We have cases of the final completion cost being 100%, 200%, 300% above the initial contract sum. And you know fully well that advance payments are being given basically to work against these issues. Now my question is, what new modalities would you suggest for the administration of advance payments? Thank you, Mr. President.
The last in this batch will be the Deputy Minority Whip, Senator Sahabi Alijiao.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like you mentioned, my name is Senator Sahabia Alhaji from Zamfara North Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, I would want to welcome you to this screening and confirmation exercise. One can conveniently say you have done well in your last assignment. However, there are policies and programs that were supposed to be good to the health and the economic growth of this nation. But unfortunately, most of these programs are left to die as soon as they are launched. One of them has to do with the national policy against open defecation. One other is the national policy on water conservation policy and strategy. Mr. Nominee, as good as these policies look, I think the ministry has not done justice to them. Now you are here facing this hollow chamber in the process to screen and confirm you. Can we share with you why the implementation of these laudable programs becomes difficult? Should you be finally confirmed and then appointed by Mr. President back to your Ministry of Water Resources, what will you do to move from the past? Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, while the former Minister of Water Resources takes those questions, Nigeria Info would like to pay some bills. Nigeria Info covering for you the ministerial screening by the National Assembly. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. Don't touch your dial.
Nearly 2 months after President Muhammadu Buhari's inauguration, 43 names have been handed to the President of the Senate for the screening to commence. Join 99.3 Nigeria Info from Wednesday, 24th of July at 10 a.m. for live coverage, expert analysis, and interviews. Nigeria Info. Keep listening.
But the main issue, I would say, Mr. Distinguished Senator, is that many of these projects were hurriedly implemented without proper designs, without going through the full project cycle of projects. Once a project was initiated, everybody was just rushing to go to construction site. Before building a dam, you need to
Senate currently screening the 36th nominee. So we've got, a few more to go. This is 37th, actually. So we've got 6 more to go, right? Am I right? I'm going to have to do my maths and figure out if I'm right or not. We currently have the former Minister for Water Resources answering some of the questions posed to him by members of the Senate, senators, including the former Deputy Senate President, asking him questions about what his plans were for the next 4 years if he retained the ministry, and what his plans and what his track record included when he first came and served as Minister for Water Resources. He, for instance, talked about how he mandated every staff of the Ministry of Water Resources to attend project management courses because they didn't know how to handle projects. I found that quite interesting. I'm talking about Suleiman Adamu, by the way. Suleiman Adamu is a nominee from Jigawa State, and he's answering questions. And yes, I was right. He is the 37th nominee being screened. So we've got a few more to go. Let me quickly take you back to Abuja, where he's still answering questions. I am Sandra Ezekwesili.
And continue so that they finish first the feasibility study. After the feasibility study will bring out a number of options. Then we have to decide which is the best option. And that option will further be developed into a detailed engineering design before we now begin to talk of procurement. So, but I'm hopeful that something will happen in the long run. But like I said, this is a generational project that will take a long time. But I think we have taken the right steps so far, and we're working.
Okay.
So we've got senators asking that he take a bow. Let's go back and see if that's going to happen.
Senator Sabo Mohammed Nakudu, Senator Dalladi Sankara, Ibrahim Hassan, okay, he's here. Senator Ibrahim Hassan Hadeja. In that order.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Actually, I wanted to speak first before my colleagues contribute. I wanted to showcase our pride from Jigawa, and I wanted to urge all my colleagues to ask him any questions that you want to ask him. He's up to the task, and from what answers he has given so far, he has answered most of the questions satisfactorily. But if it is in the mood of the Senate, that he takes a bow and go, I will miss further enlightenment, as you can see. So I would recommend, or rather I will allow my colleague to move for him to take a bow and go, and my other colleague can second. Thank you very much.
Senator Dalladi Sankara Dallatu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Senator Dalladi Abdullahi Sankara, representing Jigawa Northwest. It happened that, the nominee is from a constituency. And it's the people that, we're always saying, tested and trusted. Because he was here, I can remember 2015, and repeated now he's here. In fact, what he's talking about, his CV indicated everything here. And I can witness it because I was once a chairman of one of the river basins which is Haliji Jama'ari River Basin Development Authority. And what I want, my colleagues to understand, River Basin has about 12 river basins, apart from some agencies, like about 4 agencies. When you add it together, it's about 16. And his CV is indicating everything here. He touched everywhere, meaning he walked all over the country. So I guarantee, the nominee, he performed very well. He is a gentleman, a man of integrity. So I urge to my colleagues to allow him to bow and go.
Where is the boundary? Senator Ibrahim Hassan Hadeja.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting as the chair. Mr. President, there's very little left to add. If my colleagues are up to it, I can assure you that our nominee can answer questions in the middle of next week. But I think it's the consensus of the Senate that what we have here is a round nominee in a round hole. And I just want to also highlight on some of the issues he raised, especially when it comes to completing abandoned projects. At the state level, we learned a lot from him as a minister, which is to say, take what you have met, prioritize it, and then finish the projects that have the greatest impact on people. And I think that's what he did. And especially what he did in respect to river basin development authorities. Mr. President, before the advent of this fine gentleman, our river basins were essentially used as conduits for all sorts of things.
While that senator is making his comments about the screening of Suleiman Adamu from Jigawa State, former Minister of Water Resources, let me tell you that the federal government has begun a legal process for a permanent takeover of an account the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation is operating without its knowledge. The Nigeria Labour Congress says there will be an industrial crisis if President Muhammadu Buhari returns Chris Ngige as Minister of Labour and Productivity. A high court sitting in Kaduna has set August 5, 2019 to rule on the application for medical attention by Ibrahim El-Zakzaki and his wife Zinat. The Islamic Movement of Nigeria says it will appeal the Federal High Court order that proscribed it as a terrorist group. The Supreme Court has dismissed the suit filed by Senator Gilbert Naji seeking the disqualification of former governor of Enugu State, Chimaroke Nnamani, as senator representing Enugu East Senatorial District. Southwest governors have decided to launch a new security architecture in August following the insecurity in the country. Kano State Governor Abdullahi Ganduje has said that the federal government's Ruga program should not be implemented where indigents are not Fulani. Nigerians have been urged to check their hepatitis status the same way they check HIV. Ethiopia has planted over 200 million trees in a day in what the country believes is a world record. And finally, US President Donald Trump has denied being a racist after remarks he made about a black Democratic congressman and the US city of Baltimore. Those are headlines that we are tracking at this hour. Look out for some of those headlines during our major bulletin at 6 p.m. I am Sandra Ezekwesili. Let me take you back to Abuja.
During his presentation, and this is not a question, it's just a comment, he mentioned the Water Resources Bill. Actually, the Water Resources Bill was done, unfortunately, controversially by a senator, and now he's on the side of government. And I would just advise the Honourable Minister that you know what happened, because I sponsored the bill on behalf of the federal government. And I think at that time, out of maybe simple opposition, someone created a story around the bill, and then the bill was opposed. We tried to manage the situation. It couldn't. Now, that person is going to work for this bill to be passed. So you work with him, since he'll be in the cabinet with you. I believe that we need the water bill to be passed for this country to have a better managed water resources environment. Thank you very much. Is it the wish of the Senate that he takes about? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You can take a bow.
Former Minister of Water Resources Adamu Suleiman asked to take a bow. Okay, you're paying attention to the process as it unfolds in Abuja, the screening of your ministerial nominees at the Red Chamber. And Ohima Oliha on Facebook says the minister appears to speak well on the topics. However, they appear focused more in the rural areas. Well, the rural areas are more in need of development than the urban areas. Wouldn't you agree? We've got more comments here. Bola Akimami just says, hello, Sandra and co. On WhatsApp, so many comments. Now, we're taking these comments while we wait for the next candidate who is going to be screened. This person says, good day. On former Governor Aghogho, I think he was too ambitious for the state to develop, and owing to that, he went ahead to borrow money here and there. But unfortunately for him, economic recession set in unexpectedly, and his government became handicapped due to he had to pay back the loan from the allocation coming to the state, and by the time that was deducted, the leftover was not able to pay workers' salaries. Till now, I see him as the best governor in the Southwest. All right. Gordon Emmanuel from Badagry says, Sandra, permit me to use this medium to thank your station for always keeping me informed, most especially on the ministerial nominee screening exercise. For this you have done for me. Please take a bow, but don't go offline from the Abuja screening exercise. All right, Emmanuel, thank you for sending that message across. We've got Eric from Ilaro who says, Jediagba has spoken well. Ibe Kachiku spoke the same way. I am not moved by all the lectures given by the senators. I just pray the cabals will allow him to work. All right, Eric. Kayode from Ikotun says, the issue of Lake Chad going extinct is nothing but as a result of negligence and ignorance of the people and personnel in charge of the Lake Chad. Engineer Lamu should be ashamed being a minister of water resources at the time when the Lake Chad dried up. What could he have done to prevent the Lake Chad drying up? The Lake Chad dried up as a result of global warming, climate change. What could he have done to mitigate against that? Now, I'm no expert, so I'm not going to comment on that. Good afternoon. Listening to Aghogho and all the fact he claimed to have been given, the roads he constructed are projects I will call elephant projects, and during his tenure, welfare of the people was not his priority. Few months to the election, he cleared all debts and started paying salary in full. We all know that all of this is political shenanigans, and that's a message from Olumuyiwa. Olumuyiwa, thank you for getting in touch. So many more messages, my God. Someone else says, many people complaining about Aghogho have never been to Oshun or done their own investigations about the situation of things in terms of infrastructure. Aghogho remains one of the best governors. And that's a message from Prince. Don't forget that you can leave us messages on Facebook as well. Facebook is Nigeria Info FM, and Twitter, YouTube also Nigeria Info FM. Now we've got more messages that we're looking at. If you want to send us a message on WhatsApp, do that really quickly. WhatsApp is 080-959-75805. Shagun says, Sandra, you're doing a fantastic job. Please block your memory of what happens in American Senate in the coverage of this program. Okay, I'll try. I'll do my best. It's quite difficult, but I'll try. Mr. President should make this man petroleum minister, also give him free hand to operate. I'm guessing you're talking about Mr. Jediagba. All right. Good evening, Sandra and Aghogho. I just want to ask when all these bows and goes will finish. Akobi from Cotton is asking, good evening, Sandra. This person says, is this what we call ministerial screening? As for me, it's a pure charade. Are we really a serious people? Edozie says. Edozie, thank you for sending your message. Hello, Sandra. To me, Aghogho shouldn't have been confirmed. We are talking of a man who couldn't pay salaries for several months but celebrated his 60th birthday for almost a week. All right, let's see who else has a message for us here. We've got more people saying good day OAP. Aghogho was a hijab fanatic during his governorship. He should not take that to federal level. What does hijab fanatic mean exactly, Aghogho?
I guess it's just the sarcasm of how he handled the uniform wearing in Osun State for state schools. There was a lot of controversy, and many times we just did not know exactly where it did point out. But it looks like Aghogho Rauf has more of the comments on the day where you had
Fashola
also spent several
Well, a lot of
hours
people talked
there,
about Fashola in the morning when Wemimo and Sheriff Quadri were here talking about it. So I'm guessing, they're talking more about what's the more recent ones.
Yeah, the more colorful and controversial ones. I think another one we look out for is when former Minister of Information and Culture,
Lai
Mohammed, gets his time at the stand.
Yes.
That will be something also too, because he's drawn a lot of admirers as well as enemies on his political sojourn. So I look forward to that conversation. But very importantly, I think that the opportunity to have an all right go at Babatunde Fashola was good and justified. It's just that it could have made a lot of sense if you had Rotimi Amechi also grilled. So we would have had a great picture with works, and because a number of questions he did deflect, saying that
that's
he was
for
not the minister.
That's for Minister of Transportation to answer. Elisha Abbo, for instance, asked him a question about rails. And he said, that's not my problem.
Yeah, so so that should have been an opportunity with Rotimi Amechi to ask those important questions. But I guess everyone who's been watching is good value for your time, for what you've been hearing so far. Sandra.
But for speaking of watching, you can actually watch live on Facebook, Nigeria Info FM. Twitter is also Nigeria Info FM. You can actually watch the live show from Abuja live on your Facebook and YouTube screen. All right, so Facebook again is Nigeria Info FM. YouTube is also Nigeria Info FM. Leave us comments as you go along, and we will take them as soon as we can. We've got Ezano Chesoni Daniels, who thinks that Jedi Agba should be petroleum minister. Oh, that comment that I was taking a look at earlier on says that an agreement that Aghogho reached with the NLC in Osun State is the reason that he sacked a lot of senior staff as a result of financial constraints. Okay, there's so many more messages. Ohima Agans Oliha says, many of the lawmakers do not appear qualified. We are dealing with oh my God, the comments keep pouring in, so they're shifting everything away. It's quite unfortunate. All right, Adeyemo Babatunde says he shouldn't be bringing up issues like this in this kind of setting. It's unofficial. How could he have concluded that the governor gave him 3 months' salary for election in a state? Given the controversies surrounding him, he's not qualified. My opinion. He's talking about Elisha Abbo. Elisha Abbo said something very interesting while Aghogho was being screened. He said, this man didn't know me from Adam, and he gave me his 3 months salary to go and run for chairman in Adamawa North, and he didn't know me from Adam, and because of that, he should take a bow and go. When I heard that, I'm like, did I just hear a senator say that a nominee should take a bow and go because he gave him money some years ago? Like, should you be saying that? Should you even get up and say that? Should you not just recuse yourself and say, you know what, I'm not qualified to speak on this particular matter because there's a personal conflict of interest? What gave you the audacity to stand up and say that to the Nigerian people? Like, how confident are you in your ability to get away with just about anything that makes you confident enough to stand up and say to Nigerians, let's let him take a bow and go because he gave me money to run for chairman?
Absolutely, should never have happened. But talking about qualified, one of the most qualified qualified female you find on that list is up there. I thought she'd gone earlier, but
yeah, she has gone earlier on.
Is this Mariam Katagum, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I figured you were talking about Bwemishola Saraki. Bwemishola Saraki's
yes.
Bwemishola Saraki's
yes.
CV was impressive.
Yes.
I thought so myself, and I was quite disappointed that she had to take a bow and go. You know, because she's female and she's a former legislator. I mean, this is a woman who has sponsored the most bills in that house. And
she was a senator,
and
right?
we didn't and we did not get to hear from her. It was quite disappointing. But let's take you to Abuja, where the ministerial nominee from Bauchi State is currently speaking.
All my educational qualifications have been highlighted, as well as my career. But let me emphasize that throughout my career, I've only served in the federal civil service. And by serving in the federal civil service, it has given me a wide horizon as to the issues at stake in various states of the Federation. However, along my career, it was distinguished Senator Sam Aghogho, who as Minister of Education, recommended me for appointment as Ambassador Permanent Delegate of Nigeria to UNESCO Paris in 2009 based on merit. While serving as Ambassador to UNESCO, I retired from the Federal Civil Service in 2012, having reached the mandatory length of service of 35 years, but my tenure was sustained and renewed in line with extant regulations. I therefore just concluded my tenure as ambassador after serving 2 terms of meritorious service. I'll just highlight briefly, Mr. President, some of the areas of work of UNESCO, although a lot of distinguished senators here are very much familiar with our work. Some have attended the various general conferences or various meetings that we've had. So just very briefly, on a day-to-day basis, we practically work with 8 line ministries and in a very intersectoral manner. For example, with education, we're working on monitoring the implementation of the SDG 4 on education. We're also working on capacity building for teachers, working with universities in terms of higher education and open education resources. With the Ministry of Information and Culture, for example, we're working on press freedom, we're working on culture and heritage preservation, tangible and intangible heritage preservation. With science and technology, we're working on science, technology, and innovation. We also have established a Category 2 center under the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, which is called the International Center for Biotechnology. But that center is focusing on food security and tropical diseases. With the Ministry of Environment, we're working on environmental preservation and how, apart from the only biosphere reserve that Nigeria has, which is the Omo Biosphere Reserve, how we can encourage states and other parts of the country to establish more biosphere reserves, because right now, Nigeria has only 1 biosphere reserve. With sports and youth development, we're working on anti-doping in sport. So, Mr. President, I'll just stop at that in terms of the service at UNESCO. But while I served in the 2 terms that I served, for 8 years, I was Nigeria's representative on the UNESCO Executive Board, which is the 2nd highest decision-making body of the organization. And in the last 2 years, I was the vice chair for Africa on the board. I've also had the privilege of chairing the Commonwealth Group at UNESCO. I've chaired the ECOWAS Group meetings several times. We've also been able to participate and effectively act as deputy chair for the Commonwealth of Learning based in Vancouver. In terms of concrete, let me say tangible achievements, we've been able to set up a UNESCO multi-sectoral regional office here in Abuja, one of 5 such offices in Africa. We've also inscribed the Aghogho Fishing Festival as the very first Nigerian festival on the world list of intangible heritage. And we really, really encourage states to bring up dossiers for festivals that could be inscribed, because that's how other countries attract foreign exchange, by bringing in visitors. We've also provided support, technical support, for the International Conference of Lake Chad, which was held last year. But beyond the technical support we provided, UNESCO has also set up a program called BioPulse, which is trying to bring some kind of resilience so that the local communities are able to go back to their peaceful ways and then learn to manage their local environment and preserve their heritage. Mr. President, just before finishing my term last year, I decided to document my achievements. And this publication just came out about 10, 15 days ago. And with your permission, I'll keep 2 copies for the record of the Senate. And my intention is that I will do a public presentation of this because there are some recommendations I've made to government, mainly to do with how Nigeria can maximize its benefits from the international organizations. I'll just finish with some few thoughts about education. Distinguished senators, I am a product of an education system that worked. And I'm just appealing that we need to make it work for the Nigerian children and the youth. And what that means is we need to invest more in education, but particularly investing more in teachers. I thank you, Mr. President, and I pledge to continue service to my country. I thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, we all know the procedure.
Yes, he's about to say again that they're gender sensitive. Aghogho, every time he says we're gender sensitive, it pinches me in a place where I cannot scratch.
I mean, everything about what has happened so far with this exercise doesn't show whether they're gender sensitive at all.
Oh my God!
7 out of 43. How many women are in the National Assembly?
My point is they don't even understand what gender sensitive means, and they're just bandying it around, and laughing. Ha 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 ha.
Then everyone, the minority leader will stand up and then he will give his own speech. I mean, it's hard to watch. When you think about the caliber of Miriam Katagum and what she brings before the table.
Well, let's go back to the House and hear what Senator Baribo has to say.
I've also looked at something that is significant that she said today. She said she was recommended to go to UNESCO by the then minister, Dr. Sam Egwu, now Senator Egwu, which shows that Senator Egwu didn't go to his village or to Ebonyi State or to the southeast to start looking for who to recommend. And the person that he recommended on the basis of merit is standing before us today, and each and every one of us is impressed. To say, and she had just said it, education is the key to development in Nigeria. Madam Nominee, I congratulate you. I've also looked at one part of your CV in which you have three referees, one from the east, one from the west, and one from the north, which means that you're multidimensional and that you're a true nationalist. And therefore, in the true spirit of nationalism, and as somebody who has demonstrated and come out to say somebody from somewhere else, but a Nigerian, expanded your horizon, that you should now pass through this Senate in the true tradition of what the Senate has established for our Amazons that are going to the federal cabinet. And I know you're going to be a good ambassador for this Senate, having let you off nicely and for Nigeria, because our focus is for every one of you that goes into the federal cabinet to put Nigeria first, as you have done in your job in the UNESCO. I wish you well, and I yield the floor to the majority leader.
The Senate leader.
Mr. President, my highly revered and distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, we have before us a lady of quality, a lady who has distinguished herself by her achievements. And Mr. President, like the minority leader has said, our distinguished former Minister Sam Aghogho recommended this lady to go to Paris to represent Nigeria in UNESCO. Not because she's a lady, not because she's a woman, because he, being a colleague as a university teacher and also a minister of education, recognized her quality as a person. And that is the quality that is bringing to the Federal Executive Council. Mr. President, distinguished colleague, like the President has said, this Senate recognizes quality but is also extremely gender-friendly. With this disposition, Mr. President, without wasting much of our time, I will recommend and urge my fellow distinguished senators to allow this distinguished lady to bow and go. I so recommend.
Thank you very much, the Senate leader, distinguished colleagues. But before she takes the bow, as moved by the Senate leaders, let me say that this nominee will be the last of the female nominees to be screened. And our decision to stick with them as the highest quality is not a mistake. All of them who have come before us have proven, beyond any reasonable doubt, as the lawyers will say, their capacity, their ability, and their commitment to duty. And therefore, we believe that there will be value addition to the Federal Executive Council in the next administration. And let me assure you that we are not only sensitive in the chamber here, that when you become ministers, we'll give you all the support that you require to ensure that you perform optimally, because we believe that our female nominees, or indeed all Nigerian women who have been able to achieve, should be encouraged, should be supported, so that they act as role models to all the girls around this country. We need to encourage them. There are so many girls out of school. And she has particularly mentioned she attended maybe public school that was then working. Today we have maybe 10, maybe 11 million children out of school. We are being consistent on this, that this is not tolerable. We cannot continue with this. Majority of us here enjoyed very functional public schools in the past. We therefore have to work to ensure that we provide the same kind of climate for those children out of school to go to school and remain in school, and to ensure that government expends the required funds. If we prioritize right, we will get it right. So you are welcome. You have converse here. We believe that the educational sector, particularly the basic education, will need serious government expenditure and investments. so that we capture those who are out of school. In the next maybe 4 or 5 years, we should be able to eliminate these 10 or 11 million children out of school. With this, I want to put the question that is it the wish of this Senate that the nominee takes a bow and go? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
All right, and we've got Ambassador Aghogho, who's been Nigeria's ambassador to the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, since 2009. And she's been confirmed and she's been asked to bow and go. Miriam Katagum, who is from Bauchi State. The screening is still ongoing. Nigeria Info is still covering it for you. Sandra Ezekwesili right here, giving you all of the insight that you need. Who else is as offended as I am by the discrimination that men in this Senate are facing? Because I think it's discriminatory to tell women, oh, you have proven beyond reasonable doubts that you are women of valor, you are Amazons, you are highly qualified to be in the Federal Executive Council, and therefore we're not going to question you. And we're automatically telling men who have CVs that are just as impressive as those of the women that they need to be questioned rigorously by members of the Senate. Isn't that discriminatory? I've been on this hill since Friday, and I'm still on this hill. Isn't it discriminatory to the men and the women? The men are being told it doesn't matter what's on your CV, you still need rigorous interview. And the women are being told, oh, you probably cannot stand rigorous interview, and we believe what's on your CV anyway, so just go home, bow and go. I don't know. Is it just me? Tell me what you think. 012770993. Send a message to WhatsApp 080-959-75805. You can also leave us messages on Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info FM.
99.3 Nigeria Info.